All right. Greetings, dear ones. Greetings. I'm Caronda, spiritual coach, intuitive reader, numerologist. Been working on my next numerology based video, but there's this thought that I wanted to share. A sudden realization I had about myself and how I teach and structure numerology, as this is gonna tie into the next video I make, so it's gonna make more sense later on. But essentially, what I've come to understand about myself through numerology is that there's an in between wanting structure and wanting freedom, right? My life path is a 9, but the deviation number of that is 45/9, and that creates this internal push and pull dynamic between those two energies. And when I discovered this about myself, it was because the system that was telling me about my numerology wasn't quite fitting with the way I process things. And I suddenly came to know that how I view this internal push and pull dynamic is how I have approached a lot of situations in my life, when it comes to family, when it comes to friends, when it comes to my work ethic, even the way that I see things is there's a structure, okay? There's a outline of how to do something, but then what happens when that process doesn't work? You don't need to know how a refrigerator works to work it, but what happens when the fridge shuts down or the power goes out or you don't have access to someone who knows or understands how to even build a refrigerator? And a lot of this happens when it comes to numerology. There's these exception rules, there's these so called hidden impartial numbers, there's this dissonance when it comes to what is termed a master number. Because it all comes down to, the different numerology we practices you subscribe to. There's Western, there's Pythagorean, there's Vedic, there's Chaldean, there's um, Chinese numerology, right? There's so many different systems, and none of them aren't quite alike. There doesn't seem to be a consensus because they're all influenced by different cultures. They're influenced by the time they were constructed. And the thing is, all of these systems break down to whether or not you're thinking of numerology as a divination practice, or if you're looking at it as a study, as a history lesson, as some sort of measurement system, right? And this divide or separation is what causes so many people not to fully understand the meaning behind numerology. And so I compare this to what horoscopes are compared to the full study of astrology, right? Whenever you put the word ology on something, right, it becomes a study. Biology, right? That's the study of life. When you say astrology, that's the study of the stars. If you say numerology, that's the study of numbers. Except people understand that it's not just about numbers. It's a divination practice. It is a tool to help you self reflect and understand yourself, much like tarot is a divination tool for self reflection. Because what is self reflection? For me, self reflection is divination, right? It's you communicating to your higher power or a source outside of you, but source isn't outside of you. And this is part of that dissonance of how numerology got separated from arithmancy, right? The original term for numerology was arithmancy, which is divination of numbers. Numbers themselves were never meant to be just thought of mathematical equations, right? When you see a number, you're not thinking of the addition or the mathematics behind that. You're feeling something. You're resonating with the frequency that that number is projecting onto you. This is why so many people end up searching up angel numbers or trying to understand themselves, trying to look up their life path number, trying to look up their soul urge number, trying to understand the meaning of their name, because on some level, we're all just trying to understand ourselves as the creator. And the way that I process things is that I learn how something works. And then as I'm learning something, I then see how it doesn't work. And this is the difference between busy work and working to actually be efficient. And the way that I work is to be efficient. And I had to learn that not everybody is working to be efficient. A lot of people are stuck in their programming, they're stuck in a routine, they're stuck in their beliefs, their constructs, their way of being. And it's not really about right or wrong. It's about what is going to work or will not work for whatever it is that you are trying to do. And those who are stuck in a routine or belief system are concerned about the work. They are living unconsciously. They are just in an autopilot type of state, right? So and so has been doing it this way. This is the way that I was taught, so I'm just going to keep doing it because this is the way we do things. But every so often, something will happen. a question will arise that someone can't answer because they don't fully understand why they've been doing the thing that they've been doing. They're just stuck on autopilot. And I've never been one to keep doing something when I get those intuitive nudges that it's not working for me. And this is where I need that freedom. This is where I get called to explain or explore, right, that five energy, a different modality, a different way to do the thing to figure out why it's not working. Because if something isn't working for you 100% of the time, it's not working. If you have to add exceptions, or, yeah, well, if you just have to add exceptions to the rule isn't working. If you are reading something and it doesn't align to what you know intuitively to be true, then it's not working. And people have to be okay to admit that they don't understand something. It's that stubbornness, it's that strict, rigid need to control something because you don't want to admit when something is no longer working, because it's that fear of being wrong. But again, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about what's going to work and will not work for what it is that you are trying to do. You know, you could go out and fish tomorrow, right? And catch 10 fish, right? You can be content with catching 10 fish a day. But if I told you there's a way that you can fish and catch 10 fish an hour, it's not that you're fishing wrong, but there's a more effective way to do it in less time. But if you're stuck in a routine, if you're stuck in a way of being, you're going to view my way as wrong, regardless if it's more efficient, because it's something that you're not comfortable doing yet. And so for me, I feel like I've been tasked with trying to get people to follow or stay confined into something, right? Have some sort of order, have some sort of understanding, right? We have an outline or a blueprint of how something works, but it doesn't work 100% of the time. And that's because of the attachments, the ideas, the unconscious way of being tied to it that doesn't make it work. And it's not that it's wrong, it's just not the most efficient way to operate. And we make updates to systems all the time, right? Every, I don't know, 2 weeks, my computer shuts down because something is going on in the background that I'm not aware of. And sometimes in our system that we've created for ourselves, it's time to update. It's time to change things. And we could not be prepared for that. Sometimes it comes out of the blue. All of a sudden, your computer's telling you, hey, you got 15 seconds. I'm shutting down. And you're like, well, wait, I was in the middle of something. But when that process is done, things are much smoother, right? And you didn't realize that things got updated in the way they needed to be updated. And other times, there was nothing wrong for the system to get updated. Someone else chose to make these changes for you. And I think it's time that we get back to certain operating systems so that we can understand the reason why things aren't working. Because if you constantly make changes, if you constantly make updates, then you no longer know the process. And so the problem that I have right now is that so many people are still operating unconsciously. They're okay with just getting 10 fish a day. And in my mind, it's like, don't you know you can get 10 fish an hour? There's an easier, more efficient way to do the thing if you get out of autopilot. If you start working more consciously, if you become more aware, if you understand why you're doing the thing, you could do it better. There's a different way. But people aren't aware yet of this different way because they've been sold on a system that's telling you to get 10 fish a day because behind the scenes you aren't aware that the system that's telling you to get 10 fish a day is in the business of, let's say, making fishing poles. Okay? And the system that would get you 10 fish an hour doesn't need a fishing pole at all. So why would they want you to know about the most efficient way to do something if it takes away from their business? You following me? Now, this is part of what I want to explore and share with people, that the system of numerology is just a commercial product to get you away from living consciously. And the background of this has to do with the fact that the system wants to separate you from your divinity. The idea of divination is to reclaim your truth, your authenticity. So there's no need to reduce or lower or create rules to fit a system, because the natural order already shows you who you are. There's no need to lower yourself to fit a more linear way or limited way of being. So I'm not here or talking to the people who are okay with the way things have been. I'm talking to the people who know that the way that things have been have not been working. And it's time for that change. And we can either accept that change gracefully or end up resisting it and end up completely shut down at the end of the day. Because whether you're ready for it or not, everything changes. Unless, of course, you're standing in front of a vending machine. Those are my thoughts. That is the message that I have right now. Alright, guys? So always take it as it resonates. Be well.